After his breakout campaign in 2019, I was getting the same question over and over that offseason. How do we find the next Cooper Kupp? Lo and behold, just a few seasons later, we have another wide receiver from the LA Rams that took fantasy football and the NFL by surprise. Puka Nacua. Well, everyone's asking the same question now. How do we find the next Puka Nacua? There are several different factors and things that we need to check off in order for us to find the right wide receiver that could potentially give us those type of breakout numbers in his rookie season. They've got to be guys nobody's talking about. We're not talking about Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, or guys like that. We're looking at wide receivers that really nobody's talking about. I put together a group of wide receivers all the way from ADP 156 down to 277. These are guys going later on in your draft that more than likely would end up being the players that we're focused on here. But even when looking at this list, it's probably way too big because we need to be taking a look at guys that may not even be drafted. Puka Nacua last season was somebody that was either being drafted very late at the end of your draft as kind of a dart throw last pick, or somebody that was even picked up off waivers after the first week or two of the season. So the first category that we're going to use to whittle down some of these names is going to be draft value. And if you're playing in a 12-team league, 15 rounds would equal about 180 picks. So I want to focus on the guys that are going outside the top 180. So that's going to cut our list in about half. Now we're going to be focusing on Jermaine Burton from Cincinnati, Roman Wilson from Pittsburgh, Luke McCaffrey from Washington, Malachi Corley from the New York Jets, Javon Baker from the New England Patriots, Jalen McMillan from the Tampa Bay Bucks. Then Brendan Rice for the San Francisco 49ers and Malik Washington for the Dolphins. But obviously, not all of these guys are going to be Puka Nacua. So the next thing that we need to look at to potentially break down the list even further is going to be finding a veteran quarterback. Puka Nacua had that last season with Matthew Stafford. He had a guy that he could rely on to get him the ball consistently. I'm not really looking for rookie wide receivers to rely on to make a guy that wasn't even being considered a draft pick at the beginning of the season a fantasy football superstar. All right, now we've trimmed our list once again down to 5 wide receivers at this point. Now we're going to focus on Jermaine Burton. He's got Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, absolutely capable of spreading the ball around. Roman Wilson in Pittsburgh. Now there is some debate on who the quarterback will be for the entire season, but as of right now, it's probably going to be Russell Wilson. But even if it does end up going to Justin Fields at some point in time, Justin Fields is a veteran at this point now. He's been in the league long enough that he can still get the ball spread around whenever he needs to. Malachi Corley may have an aging Aaron Rodgers coming off an Achilles injury, but he's a veteran quarterback nonetheless that absolutely has proven to be able to get his wide receivers the ball whenever they need it. Brendan Rice has Brock Purdy, and I still think people look at Brock Purdy as Mr. Irrelevant and the rookie that came out of nowhere a couple of years ago. But that was a couple of years ago. He's going into year 3 now. His second year as a full-time starter, and he was even in the MVP conversation last year. Brock Purdy is a veteran quarterback that's more than capable of getting the job done. A Malik Washington is going to be paired up with Tua, and Tua just got that massive contract. It feels like Tua's been doubted every step of the way since he was drafted, and he continues to prove those doubters wrong. Mike McDaniels went to bat for him, the organization paid him. Tua's the quarterback of the future in Miami. Now we need to take a look at path to volume. Which one of these wide receivers have the best shot at some point this season becoming one of the primary targets for their team? Last season, Puka Nacua was able to step up the way he did because Cooper Kupp went down with an injury. And even after Cooper Kupp went down and came back, Puka Nacua was still a stalwart within the Rams offense. So which one of these wide receivers have the best chance to see the same path? Jermaine Burton has a really good shot in Cincinnati. He's going to be playing on the outside potentially to begin with. Tyler Boyd is gone. You've got T. Higgins also on the outside, but T. Higgins, he didn't get that contract that he wanted. And as of right now, he's going to be a free agent next season. At any point in time, T. Higgins, who's already dealt with injury issues the last couple of years, could feel a tweak in his hamstring and decide, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and sit back. And even at the tight end position, they brought in Mike Gesicki, but that doesn't mean Cincinnati wouldn't be looking for at least a number 2 target to go behind Jamar Chase. Now, when I started putting this video together, Roman Wilson was just fine, but he did go down with an ankle injury recently. And this video is going to be coming out a few days after that happened, because I'm recording in advance because I'm going on vacation. So if for some reason something happened with Roman Wilson while I was gone before this posted or after it posted, my apologies. But I'm still going to be taking a look at Roman Wilson because Deontay Johnson is gone. And Deontay Johnson has had like 4 billion targets over the last several seasons in Pittsburgh. You've got Pat Freiermuth and you've got George Pickens. But neither of those guys are ultra established as a reliable pass catcher. And neither one of those guys can work routes the same way Deontay Johnson did, which fits Roman Wilson's game absolutely perfect. Malachi Corley could end up having a huge season for the New York Jets as a rookie, because when you take a look at what's around him right now, it's Garrett Wilson and then it's a whole lot of question marks. They added Mike Williams, but when in the world has Mike Williams ever stayed healthy? Tyler Conklin, yeah, he shows up every once in a while, but he's never been super consistent. And do we really feel like Allen Lazard is going to be the answer? Malachi Corley could absolutely find himself as the number 2 target behind Garrett Wilson. And if Garrett Wilson ever misses any time, Malachi Corley could absolutely step up to help out. Now, Malik Washington has the longest path here, but I don't think it's completely out of the question. The offensive firepower through the passing game is built around Tyreek Hill and then Jalen Waddle. But Jalen Waddle missed some time last year, and he hasn't been super healthy since entering the league. Tyreek Hill, even though he didn't miss a lot of games last season, it felt like he was banged up an awful lot. And because of that, there were some weeks where there was a lot of questions on whether or not Tyreek Hill was going to play. Malik Washington is a guy that has the longest path to volume, but I'm still going to place him up here because he is a guy that's literally not being looked at, not being talked about, and not even being drafted in 99% of leagues. And because of that, in the high-powered offense that we'll talk about in a second, I'm going to go ahead and leave him here for right now. And that will bring us to our next category, offensive power. We need to find an offense that can match what the LA Rams did last season, because the Rams offense was extremely good. They were 7th in total yards. They were 10th in passing yards, and they were 8th in passing touchdowns. They did very well through the air, and Puka Nacua was a big reason why. Jermaine Burton in the Cincinnati offense, as long as Joe Burrow is healthy, absolutely would be a part of a high-powered offense that can throw the football. And with a lot of question marks about the run game this season, if it doesn't end up working out with Chase Brown and Zach Moss, they may be forced to throw it a lot more often than they would like. Also, the defense, they've lost a few players over the last couple of seasons. If the defense isn't as strong as what we've seen, Cincinnati could be playing from behind. Yeah, the New York Jets offense was absolutely terrible last season, but with Aaron Rodgers, it could make all the difference. Originally, I had left Malachi Corley out of this segment and didn't consider him an offensive power because I didn't know exactly what we would see this season from the New York Jets or Aaron Rodgers. But it's hard to overlook the fact that with Breece Hall literally dominating the run game and being one of the better running backs in all of football, Aaron Rodgers' job will actually be a lot easier. And because of that, Corley could still be inside an offense that would be able to perform numbers close to what the LA Rams did last season, if not better. And then Malik Washington with the Miami Dolphins. We see this offense absolutely take the top off week after week after week. There's some inconsistencies. One week, they're facing the Denver Broncos, putting up historic numbers. And then the next week, they find themselves struggling to find the end zone on a consistent basis. We know that happens from time to time. But overall, from the standpoint of one of the top offenses in football, Miami checks all the boxes. All right, the last category we're going to talk about is going to bring us down to 2 wide receivers. And then we're going to leave it up to the comment section to decide which one of these has the best opportunity to become the next Puka Nacua. And if this video can get 750 likes, then I'm gonna pick somebody down in the comment section that comments with their choice and a reason why to win a free draft guide. And if you haven't had a chance to get our 2024 fantasy football draft guide, then you need to get on it right now. This thing is full of information that is gonna help you dominate your drafts and prepare for success in 2024. There are hundreds of player profiles. There's sleepers, breakouts, bust, cheat sheets that you can print and take to draft day with you, and then exclusive content that you can't find anywhere else. My dynamic running back rating, the perfect draft, which will be dropping very soon. If you want to make sure that you get a head start on your league, go down to the description below, head on over to our website and purchase yours right now. If you end up commenting on this video and we choose you to get your draft guide for free, we'll just refund you. It's a win-win. Get started now and still potentially get it for free. But the last category that I'm going to take a look at is skill set, because Puka Nacua was not limited in what he could do in the LA Rams offense last season. He wasn't just a big playmaker on the outside. He wasn't just considered a smaller slot receiver that's going to make some plays over the middle but can't break them big. He was a guy truly that could win all over the field, that could go inside, that could go outside, and that could run all of the routes with all of the defenders. 2 guys to me equal that potential, and it's Malachi Corley and it's Malik Washington. Both of these guys have the opportunity to be used all over the formation the same way Puka Nacua was last season. And up until this point, both of them have checked all of the boxes. These are guys that either aren't being drafted or that are being drafted super late. And because of that, they're going to be a late round stab that you could pick up just to see what ends up happening with them. But if you're looking for a true answer, finding the next Puka Nacua isn't going to be as easy as we made it in this video. We tried to break it down so you could at least use this type of step-by-step basis to try and find these late round guys that could end up equaling success for your fantasy roster. But guys like Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp back in 2015 don't come around all that often. And if we're trying to bank on one every single season, we're setting ourselves up for failure. But like I've talked about with Malachi Corley, he's going to be inside a really good offense without an established number 2 at this point. Garrett Wilson will be the guy. Breece Hall will likely see a fair amount of targets and they're going to run the football. But the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers, they're going to pass it. And somebody's going to have to be the number 2 on this team. And Malachi Corley has the best opportunity to do just that. He can be utilized in the slot and he can be utilized outside. And if Garrett Wilson misses any time, he could step up and be a big game changer for the New York Jets. If I had to give my choice of somebody, my first choice would be Malachi Corley. But I wouldn't overlook Malik Washington, who I talked about extensively this offseason. When we made our fantasy football draft guide available all the way back during the NFL draft, with lots of dynasty and rookie content, Malik Washington was a guy that I brought up quite a bit. I loved his skill set last season, and I definitely believe that he can translate very well from college to the NFL level because of his big playmaking ability. He wasn't talked about very often, but he was one of the leaders in all of college football in terms of overall volume. And he has the skill set to absolutely dominate in the Miami Dolphins offense. Malik Washington is the prototypical Mike McDaniels player. He's fast, he's agile, he can make people miss, and he can do a lot of different things within the offense to make him very dangerous. He's got the biggest path, though, to finding a consistent amount of volume, and that's why I've got Malachi Corley just ahead of him. But if there's any injuries to the Miami Dolphins this season, Malik Washington's name needs to come up right away. Headliner Nation, hopefully you appreciated the content that was in this video, and hopefully you learned a little bit of something about how you can use this step-by-step basis to find those late round sleepers to help your fantasy teams dominate in 2024. Before you leave, make sure you hit that like button for me. And something like 30% of the people that watch our channel on a religious basis haven't even subscribed to us. If that's you, double check your subscribe button. If it hasn't been hit yet, make sure you do it right now and turn on those bell notifications. Anytime we go live or drop new content, you'll know about it right away. Headliner Nation, I'm going to get out of here. Everybody stay safe and stay healthy, and I'll catch you all on the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.